HOA Karen called cops after her racist son demanded cash, then froze when I flashed my badge. What would you do if the HOA president's son cornered you on your own porch and demanded money for safety reasons? Would you laugh? Would you fight? Or would you do what I did and let the badge do the talking? My name's Michael Trent. I've worked for the state as a fraud investigator for nearly 12 years. Quiet man, clean record, moved into Lakeshore Commons for the peace. I thought I'd finally found a tuntal HOA Karen, and her son showed up at my door with threats, lies, and enough audacity to fill a courtroom. Karen Valentina Breyers, mid-50s, loud, obese, permanently red-faced with judgment. Her walk was more of a stomp, and her voice carried like a police siren. She'd been HOA president since 2017, and people treated her like she ran Homeland Security. But her biggest problem? Her son, Weston, a 17-year-old ball of entitlement with a record longer than his transcript. Known for blasting music at 2 a.m., trespassing into people's yards, and once being caught trying to inspect unlocked mailboxes. And when neighbors complained, Karen claimed they were targeting a young white male for no reason. You know how it goes. It all boiled over last month. I had just gotten back from a long investigation downtown. Fraud ring. 4 arrests. My head was still spinning from paperwork when I stepped onto my porch to find Weston leaning against my mailbox, spinning his keys like a sheriff in a spaghetti western. "You got the envelope?" he said. I blinked. "What?" "For security. Mom says you owe the neighborhood patrol $25 a week for coverage now." "Coverage from what?" He smirked. "From people who don't follow rules. You wouldn't want your tires slashed, right?" He smiled like it was a joke. But it wasn't. I stepped off the porch slowly, my eyes locked on his. "That sounded a lot like extortion, Weston." He shrugged. "Call it what you want." HOA approved it. That's when Karen stormed out of her front door, 3 houses down, silk robe flapping, foam slippers slapping the sidewalk. "Michael, don't talk to my son that way," she shrieked. "He's just doing his duty. If you don't want to pay the patrol fee, maybe we need to reconsider your place in this neighborhood." I raised an eyebrow. "You're shaking down homeowners now." She pulled a printed flyer from her pocket, waving it like gospel. "It's an approved security fee. Every resident got the notice." I didn't. "That's because you only moved here last year and never attend meetings." I folded my arms. "So that means you can send your son to collect cash from my doorstep?" Karen's lips curled. "I knew it. You're one of those neighbors, always looking for a reason to cry wolf." And that's when Weston crossed the line. He said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "People like you should be lucky to even live here." You know the type of tone he used. You could feel the bile behind the word "you." A few neighbors peeked from their porches. I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. I just reached into my wallet, pulled out my leather badge case, flipped it open, and held it up between us. Karen froze. Weston's mouth dropped open. "I'm with the state fraud unit," I said calmly. "I'd love to have a conversation about that flyer, especially since you just attempted to extort a state official in front of witnesses." The color drained from Karen's face so fast, I thought she might faint. Weston stepped back like I was holding a grenade. And right then, 2 real cops pulled up, because I had already called them before stepping outside. Karen tried to recover, but it was too late. The cruiser doors swung open. Officer Delgado, someone I'd worked with before, stepped out with a clipboard in hand and a body cam already rolling. "Evening, Mr. Trent," he said with a nod. "Got your message. Mind if I ask a few questions?" Karen's voice cracked. "This is a misunderstanding. My son is acting on official HOA instruction. We've instituted a safety initiative. It's voluntary. Suggested donations." "Suggested?" I asked, eyeing the envelope of crumpled 20s in Weston's hand. Weston stammered. He said he'd donate. I didn't force anything." "Cut the performance," Delgado said. "We've had 3 complaints in the past month about this same collection fee, all from non-white residents." Karen paled. Another officer approached Weston and took the envelope. "And I assume this is part of the voluntary initiative, too?" Karen huffed. "We don't have to answer these questions without a lawyer." "You can remain silent," I said, stepping back. But your HOA bylaw packet says collections must be approved by a 2/3 vote. There was no vote. There is no record of this program in the HOA meeting minutes. And I have all of it saved, along with footage of your son making veiled threats. Officer Delgado raised an eyebrow. And who's the HOA treasurer? Karen opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Because twist number one had just hit her. She wasn't just guilty of unauthorized collection. She had also appointed herself treasurer without a vote when the last treasurer, Mrs. Patel, moved away 4 months ago. She never announced it. She simply added her own name to the ledger and started moving HOA funds into a personal account labeled Security and Beautification. It didn't stop there. Twist number two was buried in the email leak I handed the officer on a flash drive. Over 40 messages between Karen and Weston where she instructed him to apply pressure to less cooperative neighbors and used racist language to describe 3 families by name, including mine. Delgado read through them silently. Then he asked Karen to turn around. Her scream? You could probably hear it in the next zip code. You can't arrest me. I'm protecting this neighborhood. I built this community. No, ma'am, Delgado said coldly. You built fear, and that's not a community. Weston tried to run. Didn't get far. The second officer caught him by the backpack, sat him down, and started reading him his rights. Turned out he had an active juvenile citation for vandalism on record, and now, with the cash and footage, extortion was being added to the list. They were both cuffed and placed in the back of the cruiser. The silence afterward was eerie. No HOA clipboard. No barking orders. No fake security fees being handed out in pastel envelopes. The next week, the board held an emergency HOA meeting. I didn't expect much, but something incredible happened. Every single resident of color stood up and told their stories. About Weston prowling their porches. About Karen's smirking reminders about neighborhood image. About the threats and the fake citations, the accusations, the random compliance checks. And one by one, the rest of the community began to realize just how much rot had been hiding beneath that prim lawn of Karen's tyranny. A motion was passed. Karen was banned permanently from holding any HOA position, and her property was officially declared ineligible for future board membership due to fraud. And Weston sent to juvenile court, where the judge ordered him into a 6-month diversion program and mandated community service at the very park Karen had once tried to shut down for attracting the wrong people. Me? I didn't gloat. I didn't post about it online. I just kept going on my daily walks, greeting neighbors, helping where I could, doing my job quietly and thoroughly. But every now and then, someone asks me, "Hey, was that really you in the video where Karen's face froze when you flashed the badge?" I just smile and point to the stone in my front garden, where I carved a simple phrase into the rock. Respect is earned, not demanded. So now I ask you, was I just doing my job, or did Karen finally get what she gave? True or false, you decide. The end.